I am the bald eagle. I carry the weight of water and wind in my wings, the cold of northern coasts on my spine, and the quiet pride of a nation in the white of my head. I was not born wearing that crown. I arrived in the world the color of river mud, mottled and awkward, all hunger and trembling heat. It took years of sky to bleach my head and tail to snow, years of storms and fish and near misses, years of patience until the mirror finally showed the bird I had always been becoming. I came from a nest that creaked like a ship. My parents built it on a high tree with a view of water, because where there is water, there is life. We layered sticks, then more sticks, then sod and grass and softer things that smelled like meadow and damp bark. The work never stopped. Each season added heft until the home itself felt permanent as the trunk it sat on. One of my relatives in Florida built a nest so immense you could mistake it for a room. You'd be right to think us extravagant. We need the space. We grow big, we stay loyal, and we return. I remember the first time the world came into focus through my eyes. It is not sight as you know it. What is near and faint to you is near and sharp to me. What is far and imagined to you is far and certain to me. A rabbit 3 miles away is not a rumor. It is a shape pulsing in the grass, a living beat in a wide green drum. My eyes gather detail the way rivers gather light. A thin, clear curtain slides over them when I dive, keeping the rush from burning. Through that veil, I still see. Through wind, through spray, I still see. You call me bald. It is not an insult, only a misunderstanding from another century when the word meant white-headed. My head shines for the same reason snow does, light caught and thrown back. The rest of me holds to the color of earth and bark, so I vanish against the shore until the moment I move. Then I am all contrast, dark wings cutting, white flare fixed, a beak built for the finishing stroke. Hunger is a quiet engine that teaches you the world. It taught me water first. I learned the habits of rivers and lakes and coasts, how fish turn in the light, how their scales flash when they break the skin, how a run of salmon changes the air itself. I learned to ride thermals over bays, to circle with patience, to tilt a feather and drift sideways like a leaf. At normal pace, I hold 20 to 40 miles an hour without a thought, an amble in the sky. When I fold and go for the strike, the pace quickens to something else, 70, 80, 90 miles an hour, the wind hardening around me, the surface lifting toward my talons until it is not a surface at all, but a door I pass through. My talons don't argue, they close. When they close around a fish, the world narrows to grip and wake and the shifting balance of water lifting into air. I am built to carry weight equal to my own if I must. The moment of lift is a study in trust. Trust in tendon and bone, in the long keel of my breast, in the strength wound through each toe like braided cable. The river resists, the air agrees, the fish thrashes, and then I'm away with a silver lesson clutched under me.
I prefer fish because they are enough for the day, enough for the brood. But I am not precious. I will take waterfowl, rabbits, turtles, snakes, whatever lives where I live and fits these hands. And yes, sometimes the easy way is the right way. If a gull drops a meal, I take it. If a fisherman forgets his catch, I consider it. If another bird thinks it owns the air and the prize, I explain the truth with my shadow. Some call that theft. To me, it is arithmetic. Every flight is energy spent or saved. Every decision either a debt to pay later or a credit that carries you to spring. There is a voice the world gives me that is not mine. In your stories, my call splits mountains. In my life, it is thinner, clear, whistling notes you might call delicate if you did not know what I can do with silence. I have heard my own voice replaced on your screens by the cry of a red-tailed cousin because it sounds more like what you expect from the idea of me. Ideas are loud. Reality is specific. The air does not care what you expect. It cares how you fly. I learned the shape of danger young. A chick feels the world as a sequence of needs: heat, food, shelter, more food. But the branch knows gravity, and the weather knows teeth. Siblings jostle, storms unspool nests, drought thins the river until parents must leave longer to hunt, and the moments alone grow heavy. At the edge of the world there are always eyes: wolverine eyes, bobcat eyes, bear eyes, owl eyes, hawk eyes. Eyes that want what we are, just as we want what they are. Half of us do not see a second winter. This is not tragedy in the way you mean it. This is the cost of a life that burns bright on the edge of cold water. I outgrew the nest and made my first long flight over a bay where the light broke into 1,000 broken coins. My wings spread wider than a tall man's reach. I held the air, and the air held me back, as if it recognized my weight. You tend to measure me 2.5 to 3.5 feet in body, up to 7.5 feet in span, maybe 11 pounds heavy on a good diet. Those numbers are true, and not the point. What matters is proportion: wing to body, eye to horizon, talon to prey. Evolution is a long conversation, and I speak it with every feather. Winter changed the rules. Ice shut the northern mouths of rivers. Lakes stiffened. Hunger moved south, and so did we. We are not wanderers without cause. We are strategists with maps drawn in temperature. South from Alaska's endless coasts, south from the interior frost, south from gray Canada down the flyways to places where water remains water and not a memory of it. We ride the daylight in the heat. Beginning late in the morning when rising air does its share of the work, and easing by evening when stillness returns. There are days I have flown in company, our shadows threading over the same current, each of us alone in our purpose and together in our route. The sky is full of agreements like this, unspoken understandings that keep the peace or, when they fail, teach you exactly who you are. In time, I found a partner. This too was not a human story, but a hard, simple law. We displayed, we circled, we climbed on the same column of warmth until the water below looked like hammered metal, then we locked talons and fell, testing trust by adding speed to gravity. When we let go, we knew. We returned to a high place near a generous stretch of water and built. If the old nest still sat firm, we enlarged it. If not, we began again. Sticks, always sticks, then grass and seaweed and whatever soft thing the shore gave up. We worked together until the platform could hold our future. We would return to it every year until wind or time or the weight of our own faith brought it down.
When our eggs came, chalk ovals perfect as the belief that made them, we took turns keeping them warm. She is larger than I am, my equal and my better in the ways that matter to the cradle. Size is not vanity here, it is function. A broader breast covers more, a stronger body pushes back more cold. We learned each other's rhythms. I hunted, she hunted. We traded places, careful not to leave the nest exposed longer than the sky allows. When the shells cracked and the nest began to beg with open mouths, the day lost its edges. Feeding became the only clock that mattered. Raising young is hope set against statistics. A sudden storm can take everything in an hour. A sibling with a hungrier instinct can take everything in a week. The river can run lean, forcing both parents to go farther and longer, leaving softness alone for the wrong 10 minutes. The tree itself can fail. And yet the logic of life keeps its ledger. Enough of our young live. We try again. When the fledglings at last stand on the edge of the world that kept them, eyes bright, legs wobbling, the first leap is always the same. Panic, made wholly by the way air rises to meet those uncertain wings. We teach them where the food is, and how to read a shoreline, and when to wait and when to act. Then we watch them go, because that is what we were made to do. I have cousins with different tempers. Far inland, the golden eagle rides mountain winds with the kind of speed that makes numbers gasp. In dark forests to the south, the harpy crushes with talons that would make you reconsider your soft hands. Across northern seas, the stellar sea eagle wears weight like armor. On European coasts, the white-tailed eagle opens its canvas to more than 8 feet and glides like a piece of weather. We share a bloodline and a hunger, but our lives are written by the places we rule. I am a sea eagle of the New World. Water is my script. Not all of my story is written by wild hands. There were years when the sky quieted. Numbers fell not because winter grew harsher or rivers forgot their fish, but because your inventions leached into our shells and made them thin. Because fear and misunderstanding put bullets where patience belonged. Because the boundaries between human need and wild need fray easily and must be mended on purpose. You mended them. Not all at once, not without argument and not without failure, but you did. You made laws with our name on them, and you banned the poison that turned our cradles brittle, and you guarded the places where we build and fish and raise our young. We repaid you the only way wild things can, by living. The count rose. The air above lakes filled again. The symbol you chose for yourselves had nearly been erased by your hands. It was redrawn by your hands as well. That matters. Symbols are strange. I am on your coins and your stamps and your seals. I flare on flags and logos. I am freedom to some of you, ferocity to others, arrogance to a few, endurance to those who have watched a shoreline in winter and seen me lift from ice with a fish and a cry that sounds nothing like the movies. Long before any of that, long before you drew me next to olive branches and arrows, I was meaning to people whose ceremonies made my feathers holy. I am the messenger in their stories, the one who stitches earth to sky. Feathers carry prayers because they have already learned to carry air.
I avoid you when I can. It is not personal. I choose places where your roads are thin and your noise is farther away, where a tall pine or spruce can cradle our house without a fence running to its roots, and a river can send up silver without a net strung across its mouth. But we meet, on coasts where tides roll in with the rumor of whales, on lakes that hold the sun like a coin at noon, on rivers where salmon write their last sentences and we punctuate them, in towns that grew toward the water and had to learn to share. Sometimes we take what you have taken, and you shake your head and call us thieves. Other times your boats slow and your eyes tilt up, and you hear a thin whistle and see white above brown, and your mouth stays open just long enough for wonder to climb inside. I have been blown off a tree by a gale and sat tight until the branch stopped shaking. I have ridden a tailwind until the map that lives behind my eyes said I had arrived. I have watched ice eat a shoreline, and then watched spring take it back in sheets. I have flown over Alaska's miles of sharp blue water and over Florida's flat shining world, over Minnesota's lace of lakes and the quiet coasts of the far northeast, over islands where the spruce point like a choir. I have learned that Hawaii is a song we do not sing, a set of shores without us, and that is fine. A range is not a failing. It is a choice enforced by the possible. When I am at rest, I stand with my back to the wind and my face to what matters. The world moves past, and yet I move within it, a fixed point on a floating stage. The muscles along my breast are ropes that never quite slacken. My toes curl and uncurl against bark that remembers generations of grips just like mine. My beak, yellow, hooked, ungentle, cleans itself on the wood, a habit as old as the shape of it. The white of my head is not vanity, it is message. To rivals, it says, I am what I look like. To a mate, it says, I am the bird you remember returning to this tree each year. To myself, it says nothing. I do not need reminding. When I fly because I want to, rather than because I must, I use the smallest gestures I can. The secret is not in the beating, but in the holding. Find the part of the air that is rising and become the shape that rides it. Tilt, test, release. A feather adjusted the width of a blade of grass can turn a long labor into a long glide. Down below, you count speeds and heights. Up here, I count the ease of a circle that closes on itself and lifts 2 body lengths without a single stroke. I will not live forever. In the wild, 20 years can be a good span. 30, if luck and skill and place line up like stars. There are birds held safe by you who reach half a century. Their lives are not mine, but they are still lives. However long the ledger, the entries are similar. Find food, find a mate, build, defend, raise, rest, repeat. The story simplifies as it deepens. The season knows what comes next, and so do I.
People have put words in my mouth for a long time, some of them flattering, some of them bothered by theft they have never watched and do not understand, some of them insisting the turkey would have made a more honest emblemsman. That is your argument, not mine. I do not live as a morality tale. I live because the water is cold and full of bright things, because the trees still rise where the shore is strong, because the wind remembers the old trails and I have the good sense to follow them. I can carry what I need to carry. I can see what I need to see. I can weather what I need to weather. I'm not the largest of my kind, not the fastest, not the most aggressive, but I am a balance that has proven itself across a continent. I am a design tuned to bays and rivers and coasts, to open water and the margins of it, to tides and migrations and salmon runs and gull flocks and the patient waiting over a gray lake until a shimmer answers and the dive begins. If you want to know me, watch the edge where sky touches water. Wait for a dark plank of wings to slide into frame. Notice how level they hold in steady flight, not lifted into a V like a vulture's, but flat as if the air were a table and I were skimming it. If you listen, you will hear a whistle instead of a scream. If you look long enough, you will see the white fix its point and the yellow curve do its work, and a ripple become a meal, and a meal become another hour alive. There was a time when you almost lost me. There is a time now when you do not take my presence for granted. Between those times is proof that the world can be changed by attention. The laws that guard my feathers, the care that keeps poison out of my eggshells, the patience to leave a shoreline with its trees tall and its waters full, these are not abstractions to me. They are the difference between a nest heavy with tomorrow and a branch gone quiet. You do not owe me reverence. You owe me room to be what I am. In return, I will give you what I give simply by existing, a shape in the sky that means something to you because it means everything to me. On days when the wind runs clean from the north and the water is a slate unmarked by boats, I climb until the shore shrinks to a thread. The world becomes pattern and light. Hunger loosens its grip. The muscles in my chest become the kind of ache you are glad to feel. Below, the lives of fish and people and trees go on. Above, nothing but cold and blue. Between them, a bird with white on his head and dark on his back holds a course only he can see. I do not narrate it for myself. I do not need to. The feathers speak their own language. The air answers, and the story continues, one circle blending into another, a lifetime of ripples spreading out from a single body in flight.